Hi, everyone. It has been quite a week for mass murderers getting their due sentences. And so we're fresh off the sentencing of Crazy Eyes, BK, Idaho for unaliver, you know who. And I want to join in the practice of not repeating his name because he is the scum of the earth, and even scum is better than him. So, moving on, another mass unaliver, zombie mom herself, was also sentenced. Interestingly enough, she was convicted in the state of Idaho, similar to BK, but today she's facing a sentence in Maricopa County, which is in Arizona. And they sentenced her, well, the judge sentenced her this morning. It's Friday, July 25th. And this judge has oversaw many of Lori's zombie mom, as she is known. And if you're familiar with the case, then I don't have to tell you why. And so I didn't tune into the full impact statements that were given. I did peek in here and there. I feel like I was a little bit drained, not drained, but emotionally, maybe drained is it's not quite the right word. I just emotionally traumatized from witnessing the impact statements that happened at the BK sentencing, because it's just so heart-wrenching. And here we are seeing Lori Daybell, who has also conflicted so much pain onto people that have had the unfortunate experience of crossing paths with this woman. But these people, she actually did have a background with. They were members of her family. And most recently, her ex-husband, including her brother, her two kids. And this trial was because of the nephew who she also attempted to unalive. And fortunately, he survived. But however, although she has been convicted on all of the other crimes, this was the last one. And fortunately, Brandon is alive and well. And fortunately, Lori Daybell was found guilty of attempting to unalive him. And now she can go to her cell and spend the rest of her days facing the wall, literally watching paint dry. So this judge, I really like his demeanor. He has been very fair to her, but also he's not playing any of her games, and I can appreciate that. So let's watch the words he has to tell her as he's giving her her sentence.
In this day and age where truth seems to matter little to our talking heads on the news and to our politicians, I'm proud that this trial court and through our
I love that he's not only giving her her sentence, he knows that this is being watched globally, and he is allowed to add additional messaging directed to her, but also on the world stage. And this is a great judge. He really cares about humanity. I can already tell.
jury trials, we draw on the collective wisdom of jurors to determine the truth. As I said in my jury instructions to the jury, it is their job to determine the truth. The defendant spent several minutes talking about statistics and being prevented from presenting her side, and that is not the truth. Maricopa County is a court of innovation. We virtually screened hundreds of jurors And we kicked off jurors from service that had ever even heard of Lori Vallow. So when she says that she couldn't get a fair trial in Maricopa County, that is not the truth. Your cases involved 24 separate jurors who deliberated and reached verdicts on these two cases. They represent a broad cross-section of society, which means these two verdicts represent the decisions of our community, not the view of a single person, not the view of a single prosecutor, and not the view of a judge. The collective decision-making of juries helps to reduce individual biases and errors in judgment. 12 jurors in the first case unanimously agreed that proof beyond a reasonable doubt established you conspired to kill Charles Vallow.
Dang, he's reminding her, because he was the judge in that case, if I'm not mistaken, as well.
And 12 separate jurors in the second case, again, with no prior knowledge of you whatsoever, no knowledge of your notoriety, unanimously agreed you conspired to have Brandon Boudreaux killed.
That's this trial. And I love that he's, letting these psychos know, like, you ain't S, okay? You want to be famous. You want to talk about this on TV. You want to act like you're a victim. Well, hear this. You ain't S, okay?
Many people have asked why the state bothered to extradite you and bring you to Arizona, given the sentences that you received in Idaho. Trials are not just about seeking accountability or punishment from those who have committed crimes, but to give the victims of crimes justice and acknowledgement of the impact of being a victim. Justice demands not only recognition of the pain inflicted, but a firm response that upholds the dignity of every victim harmed by the actions of someone who has shown blatant disregard for humanity. You've left a wake of destruction stretching from Louisiana, across Texas, Arizona, up to Idaho and back again. Anytime a person victimizes a single individual, the ripple effects of their actions extend far beyond the immediate harm. And you have not victimized just a single victim, but many. You've shattered lives, you've undermined trust, you've sowed fear in the hearts of many. I can't imagine what Brandon and his family went through for those months.
And similar to BK's judge, Stephen Hippler, these judges, they're not just robots. They have feelings. They're involved in these cases just like the families are. I mean, in a different way, but they're also affected. And so these judges also get emotional about these things. And how could you not? I mean, they're so close to the crime and they have a lot of empathy. And so you'll see he gets a little bit emotional, just like Judge Stephen Hippler did.
Hiding, Charles's family wondering who's next. Is someone coming for them? Jenny said a lot of the things I was already going to say to you, Brandon. I'll just touch on a couple of them. I had wondered during the trial whether you suffer from survivor's guilt, and she confirmed that for me today. I also remember looking at you in the back of the courtroom in trial, and just, you have this look about you of a wounded individual. I hope you can heal someday.
And you can tell he's keeping his composure, and I feel like him saying that to Brandon, like, that really meant something to him to vocalize that to Brandon. And that says a lot about this judge. And you could tell that he really felt that. You could tell he's holding back tears. And you could tell he sees the pain that this woman inflicted on her own nephew. And when you are traumatized, and like his name is Justin Boreski, he sees the pain, You know, he's one of the few that survived this lady's mind games, this psychopath. And so he could he can clearly see that it's altered this man's life, Brandon's life, for the rest of his life. Again, he does sense that he has survivor's guilt. And you know, just touching back on BK, on the impact statements for the two roommates, their survivor's guilt is 10x, 1,000, infinity x. You know, I never really even considered that until I saw the impact statement. I mean, of course, we could assume it, but we got to see it firsthand how broken these people are now. And I don't know how old Brandon is. I think he's like in his 30s. I'm pretty sure he's definitely married and has a family, you know, and he has a little bit more life experience. And his surrounding family members weren't brutally hacked to death, but they were also unalived in very traumatic ways, and half of them were kids as well. So I really feel what the way Judge Justin Bransky is voicing these very important words to Lori, directed to Lori, but similar to BK, these words are probably falling on deaf ears, but hopefully it's making an impact on society as a whole.
To Charles's family, I just wanted to share with you that I'm sorry for your loss. Charles seemed like a great all-around guy. One of the exhibits that was put up during the first trial, I noticed something. He and I share the same birthday. So I'll remember him on my birthday.
Oh my gosh, you can see him tear up. It's making me tear up. And that's real. That's real. And I've always felt that dates say a lot. These like numeric similarities, I've always felt like they have meaning. And you could tell that really affected the judge.
I've seen many, many cases in my career where someone faces a long prison sentence for what amounted to one split-second bad decision. You are not that person. The amount of contemplation, calculation, planning, manipulation that went into these crimes is unparalleled in my career. Your powers of manipulation are profoundly destructive, one that undermines trust, distorts truth, and can erode the very foundations of healthy relationships and society. The impact of your manipulation has been devastating, insidious, and far-reaching, and perhaps still unknown. One can't help but wonder if Alex died as a result of the extraordinary burdens that you placed upon him.
Alex is her brother, who she coerced into, or from what we can surmise, she coerced into putting him in a confrontation with her ex-husband. And he subsequently passed away. And like the judge is saying, like, was it because of stress? And that's very, very possible. And maybe the guilt consumed him, but he protected his sister, Lori, because she's a master manipulator.
No one will ever know. You preyed on the vulnerability of those around you, JJ, Tylee, Alex, Melanie, others. And today I heard about Colby. You specialized in exploiting the empathy and goodwill of others, turning those virtues into tools of control and harm. I think that over time, as a result of being subjected to your manipulation, those people lost their sense of self and their ability to distinguish truth from falsehood. In the face of such profound damage, a long prison sentence is not merely a punishment. It is a necessary affirmation that our society values justice, protection, and the sanctity of human life. You just referenced a Bible verse or a verse recently about the prisoners shall go free. That is not a literal verse. That is a verse about people that accept Jesus.
I am so happy he's calling her out for this. The worst kind of people are the people that throw around Bible verses and they're not even Christian. She knows she's guilty as hell and she wants to take sacred words from a Bible. And I am so happy the judge is shoving those words right back down her mouth and like telling her, you are not worthy of even comprehending what those words actually mean.
Can be in prison and they will go free when they die and go to heaven. But it will take an act of God for you to go free. In short, you should never be released from prison. Eventually, the camera that you seek out so much, the media requests, will lessen over time and you'll fade into obscurity.
Okay, I guess that's it. And then she has the audacity to wink at the victims. Oh my gosh. We have to
Presenting her
see this.
side, and it will take an act of God for you to go free. In short, you should never be released from prison. Eventually, the camera that you seek out so much, the media requests, will lessen over time and you'll fade into obscurity. The state has requested that I find additional aggravation. The court does find that in CR 2021-001704, the offense was committed in the expectation that you would receive pecuniary gain. In the CR 2022-001242 case, the court finds the emotional harm suffered by Brandon and his family to be immeasurable. The sentences on those aggravating factors alone will be justified. The state also asked to find an aggravating factor of a prior felony conviction within 10 years of this offense. However, I'm hesitant to do that just because of the way that statute reads, that the offense had to be committed before the date of the offense on these two crimes, which it wasn't. So the court will decline to find that aggravating factor. However, as I said, the substantial amount of harm to the victims and the victim's family, emotional, financial, and otherwise, are immeasurable and justifies consecutive sentences. Ms. Vallow, what's your position on Ms. Woodcock's restitution request of $8,949.52?
I just received it from my advisory council, and I'd like to get a chance to look at it. So I know that the restitution from Brandon hasn't been turned in yet, so we'll look at that and I can discuss it with my advisory council.
Would you want to waive your appearance for a restitution hearing in the future and have your counsel handle that?
I don't see why I couldn't appear by Zoom.
I think my request would be just to leave, not waive her appearance at this time, but if there ends up being some restitution hearing, I can reach out to her and decide if she wants to be here for that.
I'm not going to have her extradited from Idaho for a restitution hearing if she wants to appear, so that's my issue here. She may be able to appear virtually, I don't know.
Because at this time, we don't have the restitution from Mr. Boudreaux, so.
All right.
And again, she represented herself again because these psychos think that they are smart when they're actually criminally dumb.
I'm going to set a status conference
So dumb, it's criminal. It's the irony.
regarding restitution as to Kay Woodcock. We'll set that in a few moments. If you agree to it prior to that date, we'll vacate it. If not, we'll have to talk about setting a restitution hearing. The court will also, at the request of Brandon Boudreaux, issue a lifetime injunction that prevents you from having any form of contact whatsoever with him for the rest of your life. The court will also issue an injunction on behalf of Susan Vallow, Kay Woodcock, and Jerry Vallow that likewise prohibits you from having any form of contact with them for the rest of your life. You'll be served with those injunctions later today. In each case, it's ordered that you pay a $9 victim compensation fund assessment, a $20 probation assessment, a $2 victims' rights enforcement assessment, and a $13 criminal penalty assessment.
Oh my God. And that girl was giving her like crazy glance. Well, look at her ears. Whoa.
Although it's largely symbolic, the court's going to impose the maximum fine allowable for each case. It's ordered that you pay a $150,000 fine plus a 78% surcharge on each case.
Yeah. So these retributions, like the judge said, I was wondering, how will these convicted murderers pay any sort of restitution? I mean, like the judge said, it's symbolic. And if they do work in prison, it will be chipped away from the low wage that they get, but it won't be everything. And I don't know how much they actually garnish from a check that they would receive. I guess it is some sort of annoyance, if they're working and then they're only getting 50% of it. I mean, if I don't know what the percentage is, but would you even want to work if it's like people that avoid child support, they'll not work. But for inmates, they really can't work the system because they're not working under the table in any sort of capacity in jail.
Those total fines on each case is $267,000. I know the law says that you can't financially benefit off your crimes, but in the event that somehow you did, those restitution amounts or those fine amounts are out there that can be paid. As to count 1 in CR 2021-001704, the court orders you to be sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole after serving 25 calendar years. This sentence would run consecutively to the District Court of the 7th Judicial District of the State of Idaho in Fremont County, case number CR 22-21-1624. As to count 1 in CR 2022-001-242-001, it's ordered that you be sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole after serving 25 calendar years. That sentence also, due to the number of victims you've created in the two cases, the immeasurable harm you've inflicted on many, it's ordered that that run consecutive to CR 2021-001-704. Because these sentences are consecutive to one another and consecutive to the Idaho case in which you are currently serving a sentence, you're giving 0 days credit for time served. You have the right to appeal from the orders of the court and to have a lawyer represent you. If you cannot afford a lawyer, one will be appointed for you. If instead you want to represent yourself in your appeal, you must file a written waiver no later than 30 days after the filing of your notice of appeal. If you cannot afford copies of the necessary records and transcripts, they would be provided for you at no cost. If you want to appeal, you must file a notice of appeal within 20 days of today, or you lose that right. If you want to petition for post-conviction of relief, you must file a notice within 90 days from today, or within 30 days after the appellate court issues a mandate affirming the judgment and sentence in your direct appeal, whichever is later, or you would lose that right as well.
Yeah, so her sentence means nothing. She's never getting out of jail. She knew that. She didn't have a chance in this case. She's so dumb that, I don't know, her whole defense has been deny, and people aren't dumb. You know what I mean? Like, it's people that are just so detached from reality, and that's just not the way the world works, She hopefully can't sleep at night and hopefully realizes what a disgusting person she is. So I didn't watch the impact statements. I mean, I don't want to finish watching this basically. Well, I do want to see if she winks at the families, she's just deserves to be put under the jail. Let's see if that happens.
It's ordered remanding you to the Custody Department of Corrections effective today to carry out those sentences. We're at recess.
She said rot in prison. Okay, let's see. I want to see. This is Charles Vallow's sister, apparently. Let's just watch this really quick. And these impact statements, again, they're not supposed to be towards the defendant. They're supposed to just be for them to voice their experience for the court to hear and for the court to consider it during the sentence. But just like what happened in the VK trial, these victims used this platform to directly speak to the perpetrators. And the judges didn't stop any of them from doing that. And that's great, because if I were those families, that defendant, like, just yelling at them, that is nothing to what the defendant has done to tear apart so many lives. So let's see what she does to Lori Vallow.
Your Honor, I stand before you today to honor Charles, my big brother. This courtroom is where Charles finally receives the justice he fought for and never saw in life. Thank you for allowing me to speak. Charles was more than my brother. He was the backbone of our family. He was steady, loyal, and endlessly generous. He was the kind of man who showed up for everyone without ever asking for anything in return. When you walked into the room with Charles, you felt safe, you felt valued, and that's what makes this all so unbearable, because the very person who should have cherished him the most, his own wife, betrayed him in the cruelest, most calculated way imaginable. Charles was a protector by nature, the man who would give you the shirt off his back and then ask what else he could do to help. He loved fiercely, laughed easily, and built his life around the simple but powerful values of family, faith, and hard work. It feels right that this trial comes after those for JJ, Tylee, and Tammy, because he was a true Southern gentleman. I know he would have told us to take care of them first. Lori.
See,
First, let me say this. Charles is not your husband. I can't do that. Okay. Sorry.
Wait a minute. Oh, hell
Charles
no.
is not your husband. You're just...
I cannot believe they stopped her. Okay, and that she's on the defense side, it looks like. Is she the prosecutor?
disgusting co-monster Chad is. The Miss Texas pageant, Wheel of Fortune, Extra on Modern Family, July 31st, 2023. What do they all have in common? They're all days that failed to make you famous or idolized. Infamous? Yes, but never famous, never idolized. You spent your entire life chasing cameras, applause, and validation like oxygen, but here you are, exposed, convicted, stripped of the lies you wrapped yourself in. All your interviews, all your attempts to manipulate, triangulate, and control the narrative, even the one released just last night, have failed. The world sees what I saw in 2019 when you abandoned Charles, Colby, Tylee, and JJ to chase that grotesque shadow of a man, Chad Daybell. You call yourself a mother, a wife, a woman of God. You are none of these things. You are a liar, a fraud, and a murderer. Did you think you could charm your way out of this? Do you believe people can't see through the lies? Do you honestly think that you are smarter, holier, or more special than everyone else? You are not. You are an ordinary, plain, run-of-the-mill, middle-aged woman. You keep saying to anyone who will listen that no one understands because they weren't there. So tell me, Lori, what don't we understand? Was it you who shot Charles? Is that why you kept asking during the trial about testing your hands for gunshot residue? Was that your grotesque way of gloating? You murdered Charles. You confessed to the conspiracy. Do you think we all missed that? You took his phone and played a childish game of keep away and then tried to sell the world that this was a good reason for Alex or you to shoot him. And every single one of us sitting in this courtroom saw right through it. That day started a domino effect, except you tipped the first domino and you kept those dominoes falling until everyone was dead. Charles, Tylee, JJ, Tammy, and the wake of devastation you left for Colby, for our entire families, and for an entire community who watched your evil unfold. You asked me during the trial where I was when Charles was murdered. You asked almost every witness if they were there, or if they saw with their eyes or heard with their ears you and Alex conspiring to murder my brother. No, we weren't, but you're right. As much as I hate to utter those words, and if you are to be believed, neither were you. How dare you desecrate the memory of Charles and your children the way you did their bodies? How dare you blame them for your crimes? We all know what happened, Lori. There is no denying it. We've sat in courtrooms, seen the evidence, seen the wreckage you caused. We have listened to the truth tellers. Nothing is taken out of context. Your land of make-believe is just transparent. The facts and the science don't play games. They tell the truth, how many times Charles was shot, at what angles, and how long he'd been dead before 911 was called. The 47 minutes. Because you were busy trying to manufacture an alibi. Science doesn't lie, you do. Detectives, prosecutors, jurors, advocates, the men and women who had to bear witness to this horror, please stand. Chuck Considas, Eric Wheeler, Ron Ball, Ray Hermosillo. They are from Rexburg, Idaho, and they were key in bringing justice to you. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, these families are courageous, and I'm glad they're using these platforms to just have these words ring in these horrible people's minds for the rest of their days. These are the last words they're going to hear before they are locked up forever. So, you know, Lori is a psychopath. She's never going to admit, obviously, she's denied like through every trial and never broke down once. Like, that takes a special kind of person with no conscience whatsoever, an evil person. So hopefully these words will really resonate with her and she can't sleep at night. And these words are the only thing she'll hear. She's got to take a drink. Uh-oh.
Grip, stability, precision. That's the essence of driving. Lawfin.
Want restaurant quality meals that actually support your wellness goals? Factor's got you covered.
Round two.
These individuals bear the weight of directly confronting your actions. They took that burden home to their spouses, children, and sleepless nights. They endured tragedy. You didn't just take our loved ones, you sparked a tragedy that now affects countless families. They understand, they were there, and they worked tirelessly to bring you to justice. Chandler PD never believed your bullshit. They didn't charge you immediately because they were busy untangling your web of deception. So you can continue making claims that no one understands because we weren't there. But make no mistake, we stand perfectly. We understand premeditation. We understand conspiracy. We understand fraud, insurance policies, and false alibis. We understand how long bodies lay in the ground while you danced, vacationed, and manipulated for attention. We understand the cost, emotional, financial, spiritual, that all of us have paid to clean up the wreckage of your delusion. Therapy, lost work, trauma, panic attacks, courtrooms and funerals, ashes and empty chairs. You are so selfish, so pathologically self-centered that you can't even see the shockwaves you created in every life around you. Webster's dictionary defines tragedy as a disastrous event. What happened to my family is precisely that, a series of disastrous events, each one engineered by you. You and Chad built a religion of narcissism, two people drunk on the fantasy of being special, chosen, above the law, above humanity itself. You labeled people as dark to justify murder. You wrapped evil in scripture and called it faith. You and Chad murdered your children and spouses and then hid behind a veil of lies. You are not exalted. You are not translated. You are a manipulator, a parasite, and a coward. You have no remorse. Your deflection is disgusting. Your interviews are manipulative. Your faith is counterfeit. You still talk as if you're somehow misunderstood. No, wrong. You're fully understood. We see who you are, a manipulator, a liar, and a destroyer. And the worst thing is, Charles loved you. He protected you, and you repaid him with betrayal and bullets. You left him dead on the floor and then went shopping for flip-flops and a new life with your apocalyptic con man. You tried to erase him, stealing his phone, twisting the narrative, and lying to anyone who would listen. But the truth doesn't lie, Lori, and now the truth has destroyed you. Lori, you have noticed this courtroom is full. It's not because people admire you. It's not because they see instrument in God's hands. It's because you're a sideshow freak, a murderous carnival act. People come to gawk at the monster who thinks she's divine. They don't come to honor you. They come to witness the wreckage of your delusion and to see justice crush it. You've always wanted an audience, but this audience isn't here to adore you. They are here to watch you fall, to watch you stripped of the spotlight you crave, to see your false crown ripped away. You are not a goddess. You are not chosen. You are not powerful. You just thought you could play God and win. The only legacy you leave is this. You will be remembered not as an instrument of God, but as a pitiful, cautionary tale of evil and narcissism. Your life will end behind concrete and steel while the world outside remembers JJ's smile, Tylee's strength, Charles's kindness, and Tammy's light. You will be forgotten, except as the sideshow act you've made of yourself, a monster who wanted to be worshipped, but who will only ever be pitied. But the legacy of Charles, JJ, Tylee, and Tammy is here in this courtroom, a new type of family built on love. Colby and his family, Tammy's family, the men and women who battled evil, all of us united, because as Charles said, love always wins. Finally, I want to say this. You once claimed that no one could judge you because they weren't there. Today, everyone is here. The court is here, justice is here, and now judgment has arrived. May this sentence be as permanent as the graves you filled.
Damn.
think Kay has a letter she's reading.
Okay.
Hi, Judge Boreski. My name is JJ Vallow. I can't be here today to read this letter because I am dead. I was murdered by the defendant, Lori Daybell, or as I used to call her, Mom. See, there are a whole lot of tragedies that have happened to my family, and all of them are the result of my mom's actions. See, my daddy was the first of the dominoes to fall. The day he was murdered, everything good in my world started to crumble. Actually, that's not true. It started before then. It started when she met her co-conspirator, Chad. She abandoned me for 72 days in early 2019. My daddy, Charles, was there for every bit of it. He tried so hard to keep me on my schedule. See, I have autism, and that isn't a bad thing. It just means that I needed extra attention and routines because my brain and my body had more energy than you could ever imagine. To help you understand, it might help to tell you about myself. I went to a really cool school and special school called Lawrence Academy. It's Lawrence Institute for Education. And I loved it. I loved my teachers and my
When it gets to the point where
They
she
understood
yells
me
at
so
Lori.
well, and I just thrived there. I was able to go to that school because my dad worked so hard and provided me a special education because I am a special boy. I had a best four-legged friend ever, Bailey, my service dog. Bailey went everywhere with me and kept me calm and safe. I loved Bailey so much, but Lori got rid of Bailey after my dad was murdered, but before she murdered me entirely. See, my world crumbled without my dad. Without him to protect me, everything changed. She took me out of my school and told my teachers that my dad committed suicide. She told them on my last day of school. She told me too. I cried all day and just kept saying, my dad's not dead, my dad's not dead, with tears rolling down my face. And I missed my dad. Now I had lost Bailey, my school. And now my dad wasn't just on a business trip anymore. He was dead. Then within the next few days, it got worse. We moved. All of a sudden, I was at Colby's, my big brother's work, telling him goodbye. I couldn't go play with my cousins at Brandon's house anymore. Braxy and Bridie were taken away too. My aunts, uncles, brothers, grandparents, teachers, friends at school, my mama and papa, and Ashlyn, and everything that I knew was gone, all because my dad couldn't protect me anymore. He was my best friend. I love my dad more than I can ever explain. Lori caused the next tragedy in my family too, the next domino to fall. There was one thing I had left, was my big sister Tylee. She murdered her too. She murdered her on September 8th of 2019, just 59 days after my dad was murdered. Days after she ripped my world apart and took me away from everyone and everything that made me feel safe and secure. Then on September 23rd, 2019, she murdered me. Lori took my dad away. She took away the best man, the protector of me and Tylee. I am dead because she killed him. He never would have let her hurt me, and I know he died protecting me. He took 6 years for me to be able to have a voice, to be here to say what the death of my dad did to me. I am not a domino that fell in her life. I am Joshua Jackson Vallow. I am the son of Charles Vallow. I should be 13 years old now, but I'm forever 7. The impact of my father's death was my murder. And Judge, it is 13 years today that JJ's adoption was finalized, and they moved him immediately right away to Hawaii. And I hope you remember that. I trusted you!
Next is Jerry Vallow.
Oh my God. Oh man, it's been a
I talked about it on my
long
YouTube
week.
channel.
So this lady, oh well, they have a
We grew up in
documentary.
Rialto, California. We had a great childhood. We lived on the country club golf course. Stacy is the oldest, and Alex is the second oldest.
Alex,
I'm the
Alex is the one that died. Wow, I didn't know they had a documentary. So 2 mass unalivers sentenced today, put under the prison, throw the key away. Society is better without BK and Zombie Mom. So yeah, what a week, guys. Let me know your thoughts about her being sentenced, the final crime, the final sentencing, her final trial. I might do a review. I guess she did an interview the day before its sentencing, and I'm sure it was just so self-serving as usual, as is all of the things that she is privy to. So it's just, I feel like I need a cleansing after this week and all these evil people. But yeah, I just kind of wanted to do a video about her sentencing today. Don't forget to subscribe, like, share, comment. Oh, and also I did create a Patreon. And if you want something, like if you want me to do more of the Wade Wilson prison calls, but like some of the more graphic phone calls, I'll put those on the Patreon. But just let me know. And I hope you guys have a great day and stay safe, everyone.